Hi everyone, my name is Erin with my Red. Thank you so much to be here with me today. Welcome back if you've been here before, and welcome if you're new here. Today we have a new moon in Aquarius, and also it is the Lunar New Year. So happy celebrations if you are celebrating the Lunar New Year, and happy new moon for all of us that are watching this here. So like usual, I have 3 groups for you today. I've inserted a picture of the cards. You can go ahead and pick by group 1, group 2, or group 3. You can pick by the card you see. Just take as much time as you need. And all the timestamps are below. When you're ready, I'll see you at the group that you chose. Hi everyone, welcome. It's for everyone who picked group number 1. So just a reminder, for the new moon, I will be reading the cards in that energy. So I'm going to be looking at like which things can you call into your life, what new energy do you want to bring in, focusing more on calling things in than releasing things, which is more full moon energy. Okay, so group 1, you guys picked the card Soul Work. I love this card. It's so beautiful. We have a beautiful bee. There's a diamond. So I think, for you all, okay, I just got a lot of things I want to say once. So I'm going to start. So first I want to say you can't ever not be doing soul work, right? So even if you feel like, you're not particularly focused on up-leveling your soul or doing healing or growth or whatever, any and all of that, sometimes, we still are human. It's still the human experience. And so it is impossible for us to be like consciously doing soul work all the time, like focusing, and it's so serious, I have to do this. So if maybe you feel like you're in a period where like, oh, I should be focusing more on this, or I should be, having this be more a priority of my life, just remember that was soul work, right? It's an ongoing process. And, even if you feel like you're not doing it, like we can't ever stray from the path, right? As a human experience, especially, right? We know the high highs of the human experience once we get through the low lows, and the more vast range we have with those experiences, it's easier for us to understand, like, okay, I know what this feels like because I know what this low feels like, or I know what this high feels like because I felt what this other thing feels like. So with soul work, I think for some of you, a message I'm getting is just, lighten up on yourself. You can't be like healing all the time. It's not healthy. We're still human. We're still supposed to have these experiences with people we love, where we feel, cared for and excited and have fun, right? That's part of being a human. And so the other message I'm getting, which kind of goes along with that, but if you feel like maybe, you're in a tumultuous time, or things like the hits just keep coming, this has been a rough few years for all of us. But especially, maybe if you have some things going on in your personal life as well, this is a reminder that things that seem like hits to the ego and are very hard in physical reality, like can be very beneficial to the soul, right? Even if it's just the situation that, okay, this thing happened, and so now I learned to be kinder to myself, or I learned to be more empathetic because I went through this particular situation, or, so everything is there for the soul to advance. And just remember that looks very, very different than some things in the earthly realm. And also, of course, we're not excusing like injustice or abuse or anything like that, but just if you went through a hard time and one thing you took out of it was just you learned to be nicer and kinder and more compassionate to yourself and other people, like that's very, very wonderful soul work, and very hard. And a lot of people don't want to look at that. So if that is you, congrats. So a little bit of a deep message here for group 1. It's coming through, but I mean, what do we expect anymore, right? So that time of that part of life. Okay, so I'm going to start with your tarot, and then we'll go into your oracle cards. Okay, so we have 5 of Swords, then we have the Empress, and then 10 of Swords, love that one, 10 of Pentacles, 2 10s right in a row, the High Priestess, and the Emperor. Okay, so I feel like starting this off, the 5 of Swords into the Empress, I feel like group 1, you all, like there's this feeling of some betrayal, especially around like opening your heart, being kind, offering love and support to the world, right? There's still this feeling of 5 of Swords can definitely be about betrayal, about cheating, about being lied to. So this is something around, like, especially if you really were like, you did something that felt really Empress energy, felt very like divine feminine, like, oh yes, my intuition is telling me this is the right thing, this is what I want to do, this is what's going to happen, like felt really good, yes, checked all the boxes. And then this Five of Swords comes along and is just, maybe there was some betrayal wounding in there. And so I feel like, sometimes when those things happen, when our trust gets broken, it's the ego likes to make everything about us, especially other people's behavior. And so I think this is really saying, if you have some of that wounding, or you felt some of that discomfort from, oh, someone like did this thing to me and now I'll never get healed or whatever, any and all that, this is really just about knowing that the work you all need to do and focus on with this new moon is like telling yourself a new story about this betrayal. So like, why do you think you have to internalize this other person's behavior? Why do you think, it's up to you to decide, okay, well, they acted like that, so it means this thing about me, right? It's very easy for us when we get betrayed to blame ourselves and be like, I should have known better, or should have seen this coming, right? Or I listened to my intuition, so why did this bad thing happen, right? There's a lot of mainstream things of law of attraction that are complete bullshit. And one of them is that like, you can control how other people are acting. So even if it was the most clear sign, this is what I need to do, this is where I need to go, we cannot control other people's behavior. We are not responsible for what they do. Obviously, we shouldn't provoke people or be a jerk unnecessarily, but we are not responsible for other people's behavior. And so from that, when we think about that, we can think about, okay, so where's like, how are you blaming yourself, right? And there is like personal responsibility in this, right? So it's like, okay, well, maybe I didn't need to internalize that. Maybe I should have left sooner. Maybe I should have believed, this and this person was acting in this way when, I didn't think they were before. So this is really just about healing that betrayal wound and not letting it communicate to yourself that you can't trust yourself, because we can trust ourselves. We can continue to trust ourselves no matter how other people are acting around us, because this is, again, don't internalize other people's behavior. And so I think it makes sense why the soul work card came out first. If there's this energy of like, oh, I can't trust myself because these other people didn't act right. It's like, don't base your judgment of yourself based on how other people act, right? Don't internalize their actions. It's the information about them, not about you. Because then we have this 10 of Swords into the 10 of Pentacles. So I feel like there's like, it feels like extremes, right? It feels like, oh my God, everything was my fault. This was so horrible. And then it feels like, wow, I'm the best. I'm amazing. I can't believe this happened. Blah, blah, blah. I feel like there's a lot of like, just very normal in healing. We can pendulum from one thing to the other, one story to the other. So I think with this new moon, it's going to be about thinking about how can you find the in-between for those two stories, right? Instead of like, oh my God, this was completely my fault. I did everything wrong. I should have known better. There's, whatever that story is. And then this, which is very much like, I have no, I have no responsibility in this. None of it was my fault. I don't have to think about anything. This was everyone else, not me. All of that. This is really the energy of just fixing between, or not fixing, but moving between like one extreme or the other. So instead, just with this new moon, you can ask yourself, how can I write a story that is like supportive of both things? How can I know that I don't need to internalize that this was completely my fault, but I also can't pretend like, I didn't have any role in this. And again, we're not talking about being responsible for the other person's actions. It could just be like, are you being mean to yourself? Are you internalizing something? Are you, what are you making about you? What are you holding on to maybe that you need to like work on releasing and letting go? So these two, to me, because they're both 10s, they could represent the same energy, but just in one extreme or the other. So this is really just about, making sure that you are doing the work to not completely blame yourself on one side, and then also, not be completely like, this was I didn't do anything wrong, I'm perfect, whatever, all this, there's always a little bit of both in the situation. And again, not blaming energy, not any type of that, but just, kind of getting clear on, okay, well, what am I even telling myself about this situation, right? Part of our role in something is even the story we tell ourselves about it. It's just finding the space between that. And then closing your reading, wow, so beautiful. So we have the High Priestess and the Emperor. So I love to see both of these two together. I feel like group one, all of these cards are about finding balance. So we have the High Priestess and then we have the Emperor. So these are very, very much representing like feminine energy and masculine energy. And just a reminder, we all have feminine energy and we all have masculine energy. It doesn't matter what gender you are. We all have feminine energy that's really, intuitive, knowing, being still, allowing, flowing. And then we have masculine energy, which is very like, make things happen, go out and get something, show up for yourself, you know, all this energy of, you know, putting yourself out there and, you know, kind of like the doing energy. So we all have masculine and feminine energy. And so I feel like, again, going from one extreme to the other with the story, you're telling yourself, I think with this betrayal, wounding, or, you know, whoever it's resonating for you, this is a really specific message. So if this isn't your message, feel free to check out group 2 or group 3, but I like whoever I'm connecting with in group 1, this is a very clear message for you today. But this is really just about, you know, finding that balance again within yourself of like, okay, what do I need? How do I need to show up in my life now? Like, how can I honor my feminine energy and also my masculine energy? So where can I flow and where can I have more boundaries? Or maybe, you know, I'm going to open up to people not as immediately as I did previously, and not in like shut down, I'm not showing up to the world at all type of way. Like, of course, I don't get on that, but just, you know, like, where can you find this balance between some of these masculine and feminine energy things? And a lot of times when we're at different phases in our lives, when we're dealing with different people and different situations in our lives, we need to access different layers of masculine and feminine energy. And so it's important for us to remember that, okay, well, in my relationship with my family, I can be, you know, more feminine, more masculine. But when I get to work, for example, I know I need to be more feminine or more masculine, or whatever, however it is for you. So I think with this new moon, you can just kind of get clear and say, okay, this is where I know, you know, I know in this space I need to be more like this, in this space I need to be more like this, you know. And it could just be that, again, we don't want to have like a hard heart or like totally think, you know, I can't show up as my authentic self. That's not what this is about. This is about, you know, letting yourself be, it's emotionally intelligent to show up as different versions of yourself based on the surroundings and the situation you're in, you know, instead of, you know, feeling like you need to completely be one thing over the other. Okay, and we'll close with your oracle cards. Okay, so what do we want to start? Okay, we'll start with this one. So we have the Angel of Reconciliation. Let me be fully reconciled with what I have left behind. So I feel like, again, going with some of this betrayal, wounding, and maybe this isn't like a recent betrayal. It could be something from your past that you never dealt with, maybe something from childhood, from your teenage years, right? But I feel like with this card, it's really reminding us that, you know, sometimes when something not ideal happens in our lives, we can just decide, okay, I'm not bringing any part of myself from that time in my life to the future. I have to completely abandon all parts of myself. I wasn't safe. I wasn't allowed to be myself. So I'm not going to show up in that way anymore. Okay. And this card is really just remembering, like, you know, it is important to look at the ways that things weren't your fault, and you don't need to like hide or completely abandon all parts of yourself. So maybe, you know, with this situation, you need to look at, okay, well, what parts of myself do I like? And, you know, what am I blaming myself for in this situation that actually I really like about myself? And I can allow that part of me to show up, and I can have some healing and peace with it again. So with this new moon, maybe you want to write, like, you know, a letter to yourself of forgiveness, or a way you can show up now that's more loving, more kind, more like, I'm sorry I shut that part of myself out, but you know, I'm ready to connect to it again and to offer space for myself with that. Because we have this card, love. So this doesn't just mean romantic love like usual. It says, love, it's not about finding love. You are love itself. Help me, Lord, to send so much compassion and caring to the inner child that I always remember I myself in love. So again, I feel like, you know, some of the soul work here, sometimes when we go through hard situations, the soul work, the lesson there is like accepting yourself and not internalizing someone else's behavior. And part of love is like sending compassion to yourself, right? And it's so nice that this card mentions the inner child, because if we grew up, or we had a caregiver or an adult in our life that made us feel like, you know, something was wrong with us because our needs couldn't be met for whatever reason, then as a child, you still need access to that adult so you don't die, because you don't have any, you can't take care of yourself yet. And so our defense mechanism is to internalize their behaviors of like, something's wrong with me, I need to fix myself to, you know, to make sure they still like me and take care of me. So I think, you know, with this card, and then just the reconciliation card we we're just talking about, just if you can just be more loving to yourself. And again, maybe the soul work here has brought up some past wounding that reminds you that, you know, you don't need to hide these parts of yourself anymore. You know, you don't need to act like you you don't need to not offer yourself love and compassion anymore, right? And maybe it's you offer yourself compassion in a way that you never have before, which can be hard, but again, it's very, very helpful. So we have the crumbling. What are you clinging on to? So I feel like, again, this is just kind of like, you know, offering some healing between these two extremes. So maybe like, which stories are you telling yourself? Which things are you saying over and over again to yourself that maybe don't resonate anymore? What do you need to let go of so that, you know, this more balanced energy can come through for you? So again, what's a way you can show up for yourself and let go of things that need to let go of instead of like clinging to them out of like lack? Because then we have perspective, none of this matters, zoom out, common ground. So this is, again, not to spiritually bypass your life and not to be like, nothing matters in your life, so don't care about anything. I definitely do not support that type of thinking, but this is more about, you know, what are you holding on to that doesn't matter anymore, right? The last part of our healing, once we get through all like some of the physical reality things, is like what I'm holding on to and making real and believing in myself that isn't real anymore. So this is really about the energy of, you know, okay, if like, again, what am I holding on to in terms of like, I'm the only one making it real anymore. And that doesn't mean it's not real. It doesn't mean you don't feel what you feel, but this is about knowing, you know, what actually matters, what is actually real here, what's a story I'm telling myself versus like what's going on actually in reality. And because we have rejection is protection, so just a really good reminder. But again, like sometimes we can get so, especially if we're wounded, we can focus so much on, okay, this person hurt me and it was so horrible, which again, we need to work through that and heal that, or this work situation or this thing that happened, I mean, whatever it is. Just remember that sometimes we can get so focused on the loss that we forget to see how much has opened up for us, or we don't believe something better is coming for us. But this is just, remember, if you really believe God loves you and cares about you, then this is a reminder that, you know, nothing that you actually need or is actually helpful or healthy for you can be taken away unless there's something in there that is for your highest good. Takes a lot of faith to believe that, but you know, it is worth it. Okay, and then last, I'm just going to pick one affirmation card for you, group one. Just to close your reading. Okay, we have, I love when this happens, unhooking the past, and the back says, there's nothing to regret when I learned from my past. So again, like these situations, like when you let go of something, it doesn't mean that sometimes we hold on to it because we think, okay, I have to hold on to this or else it'll happen again, I'll be harmed again, whatever. That's not true. This is just about knowing, you know, you can release things and you can trust yourself to take care of yourself despite things that have happened in the past. So this is, again, really just about reminding yourself that it's safe to let things go. You can handle if things happen now. And, you know, even if you didn't act as gracefully as you would like, you would have liked then, just remember that if you can see that you would have acted differently now, that's growth, right? So there's nothing to regret when I learned from my past. Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you ever want any more information about me, all that is linked below. Thank you so much, and happy new moon, lunar new year, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Hi everyone, welcome. This is for everyone who picked group number 2. So as a reminder, this is a new moon reading. So we have a new moon today. So this is about energy of calling in something new, I'll be reading the cards in that way, of allowing new things to come in instead of releasing, which is more full moon energy. Okay, so for group 2, you all picked the card Boundaries. Classic, really wonderful, really good. So some part of you has connected with this, and maybe it's time to look at some of your boundaries. Okay, so boundaries change as we go through different phases in our lives, as we want different things, as our circumstances change, as we change on the soul level, right? There's a lot of times where we need to reevaluate our boundaries, but we don't, right? Sometimes, you know, a boundary that worked at my old job isn't going to work at my new job, or a boundary in this particular relationship needs to be different in this other relationship. Doesn't mean anything wrong. Just look at boundaries as like preferences, right? And then the other thing with boundaries to remember is too, that this is a very strong message I'm getting, is it's not just about saying it once and then it's done. Okay. A lot of times that's usually that's what people think, I just have to say it once and I'm done. It's not just that. It's about being accountable to yourself based on these boundaries. So it's not just that, I set this boundary, I'm done, never have to talk about it again, right? A lot of times with boundaries, it's making sure we're doing actions that energetically match what we're saying, right? This is why people can say like, oh, I cut that person out of my life, like whatever. But then every time they text them or call them, they listen to what they said instead of just like deleting the message right away, right? Or just not engaging with it. So a lot of times with boundaries, it's harder to maintain our accountability to those boundaries than, if someone oversteps them or crosses them. So maybe just think about a time in your life, situation in your life where you've said, this is my boundary, but someone keeps disrespecting it. And so if that's happening, then what are you going to do to, show them that your actions will be different because they keep crossing your boundary, right? And that's no judgment, right? It's easier said than done. It takes some practice, takes some trial and error, but just remembering that, when we do set boundaries, it's not to harm someone else and it's not to make someone do something. It's so that we can feel supported within ourselves. And so we can feel, like we're taking care of ourselves. It's not to get someone to do something. It's so that we can support ourselves and show up in a way that's best for us, so we can be healthy in that way. So again, this isn't about like, I'm going to set this boundary so this person will do something. It's so that you can feel empowered and strong within yourself. Okay, I'm going to start with your tarot like usual, and then we'll close with your oracle card. So we have the Star, into the Sun, wow, into the Chariot, 3 major arcanas in a row here. Ace of Wands, 5 of Wands, and Justice. Okay, so Star into the Sun. Wow, I feel like group 2, you have just gone through a period of your life like rebirth, right? So maybe, I don't know how long the situation was going on, but there was a lot of love and care and tenderness, rebalance, which is that Star energy. It's a lot of pouring into yourself, of getting very clear, of being like, this is what I need to nourish myself. I'm allowed to rest. I'm allowed to take care of myself. I'm allowed to have boundaries. Okay, so a lot of that energy. And then right with the Sun is, kind of this rebirth, got a little naked baby riding a horse, feeling great, right? So a lot of this energy of we can feel reborn and proud of ourselves and strong within ourselves when we feel replenished, right? A lot of times we need to go, just like the seasons, we need to go into a period of winter where we can rest and replenish ourselves and our energy. And then when we come out on the other side, we feel reborn, we feel new, we feel excited, we feel like, kind of like this refreshed energy. So I feel like group 2, if you're going through that right now, amazing, really honoring that. And maybe you don't feel like this yet, but we're getting there. Okay. So we're kind of pushing through some of this replenishment and moving into more of like really feeling like I did it, I made it, I'm on the other side, here I go. And then we have the Chariot and Ace of Wands. So the Chariot is about moving forward and with new action. So I feel like something that's coming out of this energy of rebirth, I can't see if my nail covers the bottom, but something that comes out of this onto the other side with all of that is just this energy of moving forward, of like, here I go, this is what I want, this is what's happening. And then the Ace of Wands is about like taking action with that. So I feel like the Chariot is about having faith and leaning into the things that you're being pulled towards, the way you're moving forward, right? So maybe an opportunity came up, maybe, you met someone in a chance way, or you feel called to join this particular organization or support group. I don't know what it is, but this is energy of like, you're ready to move forward and move on with your life. And so like serendipitous things are being brought to you, but then this is also about your role in it and making sure that you are doing what you need to do to be able to keep going with that. So the Ace of Wands is very much about, new energy, new action, moving towards what you want, taking all these things to happen, just allowing, just allowing that, you know, we have to do our part, and God definitely can do more for us than we can do for ourselves 100%. But that doesn't mean that we can just, you know, hide in our house and do nothing and not interact with anyone ever if we want our lives changed. We still have to be responsible for ourselves, but we don't have to do all of it. But with this moving forward energy, you know, it can be, you know, making sure we're doing our part and we're showing up, we're putting ourselves out there, we're trying to change, make things happen, be responsible for ourselves, you know, maybe being kinder to our bodies, talking to a therapist, doing some sound healing. I mean, I don't know, whatever resonates for you, make sure you're doing your part, but then trusting that when you get to the other side, when you move through these things, it is going to help you get there and do that. And then, so this is interesting energy. We have the 5 of Wands and the Ace of Justice. So I feel like maybe some things that are coming up as you are moving forward with this new moon. Oh, last thing I want to say about this before I go into the other 2 cards. So I think maybe with this new moon, if you want to write some intentions of like, you know, I'm ready to move forward. This is what I want to create in my life. This is where I want to go. These are the things I want to have happen. Just kind of like refreshing yourself after a period maybe of some rest and rebirth, right? Sometimes we need to reevaluate our goals. We need to reevaluate our values. We need to determine, you know, where do I want to keep going? What feels right for me right now? Because then we have the 5 of Wands into Justice. So I feel like, you know, 5 of Wands can be conflict energy, and with the Justice right next to it is very much about, you know, we have the Sword for boundaries, and then we have the Scales of Justice for balance. So I feel like with these 2, you know, maybe it doesn't feel like there's anyone else's energy in this reading, but if there is, you know, you'll kind of know. It doesn't feel like a current conflict. It feels like learned reactions from conflict situations you were in before. So it could be maybe, you know, you had a toxic family member growing up, or work environment, or, you know, and you had to learn some of these defense mechanisms of just like, well, when someone does this, my immediate response is to, you know, tell them exactly what I think, or I'd set this boundary right away, or I'm going to assume that they're being mean to me, instead of like kind of being like, okay, actually, is there positive intent here? Is there a real threat here? Right. So I think looking at some of the ways you can heal some of this learned responses, right? Being addicted to being argumentative, just saying like, do I actually need to say something right now? Or do I just think I need to be offering my opinion right now, right? Sometimes a learned response can be no one listened to me. And a learned response to that can be, I'm going to make sure everyone listens to me all the time. I'm going to make sure everyone is hearing everything I'm saying. I'm going to make sure everyone, you know, always knows what I'm talking about. And so I think, you know, with this energy, this is about offering, getting some clarity around, and again, back to boundaries, we love boundaries, around, you know, okay, well, I know if someone wants to argue with me all the time, a boundary I'm going to have is, I'm not going to engage. I'm just going to, like, is it worth my time to even argue with them? If I know they don't want to change, and they don't actually want to know me, they just want to go back and forth and argue, maybe I'm going to choose not to argue with them anymore. And then, you know, Scales of Justice on here, just about knowing that it's about balance, right? And saying, okay, well, in this situation with someone I love and care about, right, I want to use conflict as closeness to deepen my relationship with them. But for, you know, this random person at the grocery store who tries to pick a fight with me, I know I just actually don't want to say anything to them. Okay, so it's about balance. And then it's also knowing that, you know, sometimes we think we have to say something or be in charge of something, or I don't know, like, you know, try to manipulate something, because it's like, I need justice right here, right now. So part of this can just be just remembering that, like, you know, you can stand up for yourself and have your boundaries, but some things are not worth the battle long term with certain things. And, you know, knowing that maybe our certain reactions to conflict are not helpful anymore. So again, I think with this new moon, you can say like, what are my, and this is no judgment because we all have stuff to heal and work on, but, you know, what's my immediate response to things I don't like? What do I go into when I feel uncomfortable? How do I, you know, any and all of that might, you know, not serve us anymore. Because then, I want to get into your oracle cards. Wow, where do I want to start? Okay, so I feel like going along with that, we have get grounded, empaths, highly sensitives, connect with nature. So we can, the more disconnected we are from ourselves, the more we can get pulled into conflict. If we don't feel grounded in ourselves, if we don't feel clear about who we are, clear about what my boundaries are, then it's easy for me to get pulled into arguing with someone. If I'm not in contact with my higher power and I'm not able to pray and be like, should I respond to this in this moment? What should I do right now? Please show me. If I'm not doing that, then, it's so much easier to get pulled into, a lot of these things around us that don't feel the best. So again, maybe it's tapping into like, what feels good for me? What doesn't feel good for me? What do I want to respond to? What do I not want to respond to? And just kind of allowing those things to come clear to you and just kind of practice using that tool in the present moment, right? We think we maybe want to react in a particular way, but then if we're offering presence, we know we can respond better than we can react, right? If we're being thoughtful, and that's how we break the patterns of what I was just talking about, of just, this thing happens and my response is I always argue when someone says a particular word or when this specific topic is brought up or whatever. And when we want to rewrite that, that's when we need to be grounded. That's when we need to be connected to ourselves, to not, just become a tornado person whenever we have these things happen that, makes us feel like we just need to respond in an insane way. And because then we have rock bottom, the cracked open rock bottom, surrender to the alchemy of life. So I feel like, maybe sometimes we can't release some of our survival tactics or our patterns because we feel like we won't be safe if we don't have them. Maybe we have an identity connected to them, like, well, I'm the one who always fights, or I'm the one who always does this, or I'm the one who always does that, right? And sometimes if we don't, again, be present and look at those things, we might not be able to move forward or want to change or, become the next version of ourselves. And so I feel like with cracked open, this energy is really about, if there's some resistance to any of this, if there's resistance to knowing you need to set separate boundaries, you need to exist in a new way, you need to whatever, this is really just reminding us that it's time to do that. You can do that. It's safe to do that. I mean, you don't need to feel completely abandoned by yourself, and just trusting, surrender to the alchemy of life, surrender to this next layer of who you need to be, trust the growth, trust where your soul is going, instead of hanging on to that. And then, because I kept saying trust, we have the angel of trust. I trust in the divine power of goodness and love to protect and guide me. So again, I feel like if there's some resistance to breaking patterns, to having faith of like, okay, maybe I don't need to, fix every single thing that comes my way or get super invested in every single thing that comes my way. This card is really just remembering, like, we are not our higher power. We are not the ultimate authority. We are not in charge of my life, everyone else's life. We're not in charge of any of that. We are just in charge of ourselves and setting the boundaries and owning our own behavior and trying to become more peaceful, kind, present, and stand up for things that are right in this world. Remembering that, again, you aren't doing it alone. So if you felt like you were, just remember that there is divine power loving, protecting, and guiding you. So with that, and then going along with that, with this higher power energy, so we have the card service. You stop using the universe, quote unquote, to try to get what you want and start asking love or the universe or God or your higher power or whatever to use you. You offer all and want to be of service. Ironically, many desires become fulfilled without grasping or manipulation. So this is, again, when we touch that energy of being evolving into that next version of ourselves. This is really about focusing on, okay, I think I know what I want. I think I want this, but there's so much of our old wounding or our ego filters or our whatever that we think we know the best, but God actually knows the best. So I think as you're moving forward with this group, and when you're thinking about what boundaries do I want to set, what things do I want to allow, you can offer this prayer of like, show me what to do, show me who to be, please use me as a vessel of how I can offer things to this world, right? Instead of just being like, has to be my agenda, my plan, this is what I'm doing. Moving away from that energy and getting more into like this energy of please let me be of service, because it's so much more powerful and people connect to that so much more. And then we have believe in yourself, really nice card to end with. And just again, a reminder that, believing in yourself, it takes a certain level of humility to actually hear God's plan for you and what you're guided to do. And then another layer of that humility to actually act on it. So believing in yourself is really just, you don't have to go from like I'm right here and my end big goal in 20 years is this, and I need to believe that that's possible right now. Like, this is really just about one day at a time, believing in the guidance you're hearing right now today and acting on that, and just going like a baby step, right? So I think with these two cards, the Chariot and Ace of Wands that came out, this is really just about knowing I can move forward one baby step at a time, one thing at a time, like I don't have to do it all now. So but just believing in yourself starts with just taking one little action and moving forward with that, instead of feeling like, I need to do everything, fix everything, be everything right away. That's not what we're talking about with that. Okay, and yeah, an affirmation for that can obviously be, I believe in myself. Very classic, good, helpful, gets us moving. Okay, and I'm just gonna pick one affirmation card to end the reading with for you guys, group 2. Okay, so it came out. Creating cooperation. More gets accomplished when everyone has a role to play. So again, just what I was talking about with the service, with allowing God's will, not our will, just knowing that you have your part. And so instead of trying to, even with this Justice card, trying to be in charge of everything, do everything, be responsible for everything, all of that, just remembering, like, if all of us are listening to our intuition and our guidance, then we're all working together in ways we don't even know about. And so it's just about hearing your guidance, moving forward with that, instead of trying to, do more, overestimate what we can do as an individual, but trusting if we're all on our path together, then it's helping and adding up. Okay, that's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you ever want any more information about me, all that is linked below. Thank you so much. Happy new moon, happy Lunar New Year. And I hope you have a wonderful day. Hi everyone, welcome. It's for everyone who picked group number 3. So you all picked the Get Wild card. Oh, this is a new moon reading. And so I will be reading the cards in a way that focuses on calling in new energy, new intentions, things you can do for yourself that are based on newness, versus a full moon, which is more about releasing things and letting things go. Okay, so you all picked the card Get Wild. So this card, see, it's kind of like 2 wolf skulls here. So I feel like for group 3, when we think about wild and wolves, think of, if you've read the book Women Who Run with the Wolves, like Larissa Pinkola Estes, very nice book. If you haven't read it, it's about reconnecting with your divine feminine, right? We live in a society that favors order, following the rules, doing what you need to do, all of that, right? And that can be helpful to some degree, right? We don't want to just have total chaos and everyone doing whatever they want, right? There does need to be some rules and order in order to be productive, be respectful of other people, all that. But I think this card is really hinting at, the wild nature of so many of us get socialized out of following our intuition in order to be polite for someone else or spare someone else's feelings, or, just kind of feel this energy of it's important for me to prioritize someone feeling happy or understanding me versus what I really want to do. So I feel like with this new moon group 3, you can write and think about when I say the word wild, even is there a negative connotation that comes up? Is there fear? Is there I need to be small? Just kind of fleshing that out and looking at, what would it mean for me to reclaim part of my wild nature and my animal instincts? Again, not to the point where you harm other people or just don't follow the basic rules of decency and respect in society, but is more focused on, this get wild energy of what if we see it in children so much, right? They're very blunt, say, no, why are you so tall? Why do you have, for me, it's all the time, why do you have these tattoos on your hands? Why do you have your tongue pierced, right? But for adults, it can be obviously, again, there is some social order we need to follow, but there's so many things that we talk ourselves out of doing just because we're so afraid of breaking a stigma or not, of not expressing ourselves, right? So getting wild is just more about connecting to our inner child that allows us to feel free, allows us to listen to our instinct, that allows us to, I think actually, I can have more in my life. I can set boundaries. I can desire people who don't want to harm me in my life, who do want to fully support me even, right? Not just even neutral of they're not harming me, but people even just beyond that of I want them to love and support me so much and just really care for me with that energy. So just, with this new moon, thinking about who do you want to be? How do you want to move forward in that way? And I'm going to start with your tarot like normal, and then we'll go into your oracle cards after that. So opening reading, Hangman in reverse. Wow. And then the moon to our major arcanas. 9 of Pentacles, 6 of Cups in reverse, 9 of Cups, and 6 of Wands. So, okay, 2 major arcanas and then a 9-6-9-6. So I think we're going to get a lot of repeating messages here for you, group 3. So don't pretend like you didn't hear them. Okay, how do I go through this? So first we have the Hangman in reverse into the moon. So I feel like in the recent past, or maybe you're going through this right now, there was this realization. The Hangman in upright is about like playing yourself, you know, just in the victim mindset of learned helplessness. And so in reverse, right next to the moon, I feel like kind of like snapped out of something, a realization happened, there was some awareness, and it's turned into, the moon is like subconscious energy. It's about things happening below the surface, not just within ourselves, but, you know, so many things we're not in control of happening around us that make us feel more loved, supported, and taken care of. So this energy is really about, you know, you waking up, just kind of realizing, wow, I don't want to do that thing I was doing for however long. It doesn't serve me anymore. And the moon is more about, you know, again, like things going below the subconscious. So maybe you're like with this Get Wild card, maybe something from your intuition came through and was like, I can't do this certain thing anymore. I can't exist in this particular way anymore. I can't pretend like, you know, X, Y, and Z happening is okay for me anymore, right? We don't want to fall in this pattern of just kind of going, again, like the socialization of just going with the flow. This is what's expected of me now. This is what I need to do next. This is the trajectory my life has to follow. And so this is kind of about waking up to some of that and like really hearing your intuition, your subconscious, your like this awareness of, you know, I need to snap out of that and listen to myself if I want to have the life I want, and I want to do the things that make me happy and feel fulfilled and happy and clear and like connected to my higher power with that. Because I feel like, so then we have 9 of Pentacles into the 6 of Cups. I feel like you know, the not listening to the self is very much rooted in like this 9 of Pentacles achieve success in a worldly way and ignoring the inner child. So the 6 of Cups in reverse is very much the inner child card. It's about playfulness, lightheartedness, right? So this card could have been like, okay, well, I needed to get this job, or I need to go to college to get this degree so I could work in this particular field, so I could do this particular thing, so I could show up in this particular way, right? And, you know, again, there is part of that. We all buy into that. We do want financial and material stability. Like, we're not stupid. We live on earth. We need to have, you know, we need to have these physical reality things taken care of. But where we can get lost and where it can turn too far is if we completely ignore ourselves, like the 6 of Cups, and we make this our God, and we make that above, you know, doing anything that feels abundant to us. So this doesn't mean you have to completely change your career or quit your job or whatever. If that's calling you, like, please go ahead and do that, right? But this is just about, you know, maybe it's not just about working, it's putting more balance in your life, right? Putting more balance of like, how can I listen to my inner child? What are things I like doing? You know, your things you like doing with your inner child or having fun and lightheartedness doesn't have to become your full-time job, contrary to capitalism and monetizing your whole life. And, you know, you can just have a hobby or do something for fun because you like it. You don't have to do it all the time. You don't have to monetize it. Again, you can, but you don't have to. You know, even if you just do it once a week or once a month, something that feels good and feels like playful and fun and lighthearted, feels wild, you know, could be painting, it could be going swimming, it could be, you know, I don't know, you know yourself obviously better than I do. So just knowing that, finding that balance and letting yourself have that outlet instead of focusing so much on, you know, the rat race of, I need to have this happen, I need to focus on my life, I need to grow, I need to whatever, all of this. And again, it doesn't mean you need to like quit your job and change your career and go back to school and whatever. You can, right? Again, like totally fine, but just making sure you're allowing some of that lighthearted child playfulness energy to come into your life, just being young at heart, no matter how old you are, right? There comes a time in our life where we just kind of are like, wow, everything I'm doing feels like work. Everything feels like hard and intense and whatever. And if you're kind of going through that, this can be very much about making sure that you're offering some playfulness and not getting caught in this feeling of totally abandoning yourself for temporary physical reality. And again, I'm not saying to like sell your possessions and move somewhere and live in a van. If that's what calls to you, God bless, go ahead. But, I understand, again, we're not stupid. We need to have financial support. We need to recognize we are on earth. We need to take care of ourselves. We need to, we have to be alive in physical reality, and there's things we have to do to take care of that. But sometimes, again, we can get so over focused on that we don't allow time for play, lightheartedness, laughter, joy in our lives in the way that, our soul is really asking us to do. Because when you do that, look at this, the end of your reading, so beautiful, 9 of Cups into 6 of Wands. So I feel like, again, this can just be very much about, and then even going with this cups into the cup. So if we're looking at cups as the same theme here, the 6 of Cups being about the inner child, just being like, look how happy and satisfied you can feel if you do. It doesn't have to be 9 things, but let's say, I know my inner child likes reading, my inner child likes swimming, my inner child likes painting, doing puzzles. If when you do those habits, then you will feel satisfied and full, right? We just need to have an outlet for those things that make us feel alive and happy and grateful. It doesn't, again, have to be your whole life. It doesn't have to be a lot of time. It doesn't have to be whatever, but just knowing that we can feel so content and so happy and connected and proud of ourselves when we're allowing that in our lives, versus, kind of like feeling depleted if we're not listening to that. And then closing with the 6 of Wands, it's like, that just helps you celebrate yourself more. It helps you enjoy life more. It helps you just become more aware of the things you want to do and the places you want to go. And, it's easier for you to connect with other people, and you feel, again, more fulfilled. And because happiness is an inside job, it's easier for you to connect with other people, to be more lighthearted, to be more radiant. So just knowing that, when we think about like this get wild card, it's not like, get wild, like sell my house, get rid of all my possessions, don't care about anything, don't do my taxes. If you're somewhere where you live, where you have taxes, right? If I don't have to do any of that, then, that's not what the get wild means. It means, how can I take care of my inner child, show up, be playful, be fun, and then celebrate myself and enjoy all the things I have in my life, right? Just adding more playfulness and lightheartedness is kind of what I'm getting for group 3 for this reading. So with this new moon, again, you can think about, what are things I like doing? How can I show up for myself in that way? What can I offer myself that feels like abundant and fun and free? And like maybe, or how can I even if it's not new habits, it's like, how can I make them more playful and fun, right? So even if you start something as an adult that's exciting and a new experience and a new habit, sometimes we can get in the thought process of like, I need to master this, and we can be so worried to like let it go, right? Like for me, I started ballet as an adult, and I'd always wanted to dance. When I first went, I was like, oh, I need to pay attention, I need to do this, I need to do that. But then it was like, once I just let go and let my body kind of like figure it out, it was way more fun. I got better at it faster. It was not as intense. It's like just remembering these things we do to nourish our inner child are supposed to be fun and lighthearted, and there's nothing wrong if you need a little bit of time to get good at them, and like, again, let yourself be wild and experiment and be free, and moving away from some of this like rigid socialization and into more of letting things be, lighthearted, soulful, taking care of yourself. Okay, then with your oracle cards, okay, so, well, let's start with this one. Okay, so the first one, true offering. May I release the fears, illusions, and addictions that keep me from true offering. May I relax into your plan. Talking about God. Trusting that the next steps will always be shown. Use me, love, God. Use me for the highest, I'm yours alone. So again, this is what I was talking about just now of like, God gives us all of our gifts for a reason. God gives us everything we're interested in for a reason. It's not so you have to painfully choose one over the other, or this is the thing I'm doing and not anything else. There may be seasons of our lives where we have to focus more on one thing than the other, but it doesn't mean that, we're given our gifts by mistake, or the things we're interested in by mistake. So we are as humans, we tap into such tiny little potential we have, because we're worried about, like this card said, we're worried about, like, we have fears about it. We have illusions, we have addictions, we have these things that get in the way. So this is just remembering that, the offering we have for the world, the ways we're here to express ourselves, to have our soul be doing things that are free and fun, is on purpose and does contribute to the highest good and the greatest good, even if it doesn't feel like it. So trusting that, the things you want to do and the things you're called to do are for a reason. And, God doesn't make mistakes. God didn't make you interested in these things that seem like one over the other for no reason, right? They're important and they're on purpose for you. Because then we have the guardian angel of young adults. So I am guided as protected as I begin to choose my path in life. So I feel like this is, a lot of people talk about inner child healing, which is very important, but I feel like this card is giving me healing inner teenager healing. It's just as important as inner child healing. And can be, that's kind of the age where we lose them or get wild, right? You have to be cool when you're a teenager. You have to be cool. That's when a lot of people, get exposed to doing drugs or alcohol for the first time, or have to act apathetic, or you have to all this stuff. So I think the young adult here is kind of like forgiving yourself and not continuing on the ways that maybe you've shut other people out, that you feel like people don't get you, you're not understood by the world, right? That's all wounded inner teenager. So remembering you do have this energy to move forward and to allow things into your life that can let, this young adult energy flourish and shine. And just remember that you are guided and protected, and being a teenager was rough, for everybody. So you're not alone if you feel frustrated or upset healing that type of stuff, but knowing that, it's time to move past that, and don't let your fear of looking stupid or being too cool or being above something, don't carry that into adulthood anymore. And then we have faith transforms love into fear. So again, what I was talking about, just having faith in your higher power, remembering you're given your gifts on purpose. You are every single part of you, every single thing that you are on purpose. It all adds up. It's all here for you to take care of yourself and be there for yourself. And then we have the age of light. You've been training for this for a lifetime. So again, some things, every lifetime we have, the soul expands, and everything we do then becomes part of our soul essence. And so in this lifetime, the unique circumstances that are going on right now in this particular timeline are here to teach us specific things. So if you feel like, you feel destined for more, like you need to break beyond these patterns of certain things, just remember this is all on purpose, and it's part of you showing up for yourself and taking care of yourself. And then we have, this is a nice one to end on, Star Family. You're part of a team of souls, call and support. So just remembering, again, if you want to do more hobbies, invest in yourself, do these types of things, remembering that, you can ask a friend to go with you, maybe you can spend more time with someone else doing these things. You can, of course, always ask your higher power for love and support to offer these new things in your life, or maybe that you meet, when we do new hobbies, join a book club or whatever thing you join or feel called to do, sometimes you meet some of your soul family there. So just remember that sometimes, trying something new and pushing yourself out there, you can meet someone who is there for you, to show up for you and take care of you, and you them, it's like a nice reciprocal friendship. You never know how you're going to meet someone who becomes your friend. Okay, and then I'm going to pick one affirmation for you guys for group 3 to close the reading. Okay, and this is soothing impatience. And then the other side says there's nothing to do but wait. So I just think a good affirmation. So maybe, you are kind of in this phase of rewriting patterns or learning a new skill, doing something that you're like, why can't I just get this yet? What's going on? How annoying. I'm so frustrated, right? Just remembering that it's all part of the process. It's all part of the learning experience. There's nothing to do but wait. If you're doing everything you need to be doing, take care of yourself. Just try to enjoy it. The circumstances are what they are. So see if you can add a little lightheartedness and make something, a little more joyous, a little more fun, because that just is what it is. Get wild with what you're doing. That's everything I have for you. Thank you so much for choosing to be here with me today. If you ever want any more information about me, all that is linked below. Thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.